Meet Marco. At 24, he lives in a state of constant mental exhaustion, his eyes scanning for threats that exist only in his mind. His attention is split. Regrets about the past pull him backward, while worries about the future drag him forward, leaving his mind stretched thin. This creates an unrelenting internal storm. He struggles to sleep and finds it impossible to experience genuine joy. To solve this, Marco follows a common intuition. He believes that to quiet his thoughts, he must find a perfectly silent physical environment. This belief drives his journey. He decides that escaping the noise of his current life is the only way to silence the noise inside his head. Marco travels for days, moving deep into a remote mountain range until the city is a distant memory. He eventually finds a small house where an old man sits in total stillness. This man had walked away from a career in the city years ago, choosing the isolation of the hills. Marco approaches him with a desperate plea. He wants the secret to stopping his thoughts and finding peace. Based on the setting, Marco expects a lesson in traditional meditation, sitting in silence until the mind clears, but he has carried his internal storm into the mountains. He's testing the idea that changing his location will automatically change his psychology. The old man agrees to help, but he doesn't offer a lecture. Instead, he introduces a physical trial. He fills a glass to the absolute rim. The surface tension is so precarious that a single millimeter of movement will cause a spill. Marco must carry this glass to the edge of the local village and back. The rule is absolute. Not a single drop can be lost. The task forces Marco back toward the noise. To find his cure, he must walk straight into the busiest part of the settlement. Though confused by the request, Marco's desperation is high enough that he accepts without hesitation. The overflowing glass functions as a mechanical constraint, demanding his attention so completely that he is forced out of his own head and into the physical world. The village is a gauntlet of distractions. The narrow dirt roads are crowded with people and unpredictable movement. Shopkeepers call out to the crowd, dogs bark, and villagers rush past him. Marco moves with agonizing care. He locks his eyes on the trembling surface of the water, calculating every single step. His intense focus creates a psychological barrier. Even as the crowd moves around him, he remains isolated from the surrounding noise. By committing to this physical action, Marco has managed to ignore the exact environment he originally tried to run away from. Marco returns to the porch successful. The glass is still full to the brim. The old man asks if he noticed the children playing or the noise of the dogs during his walk. Marco admits he saw and heard nothing. His entire world had shrunk to the size of the glass. The mentor explains the mechanism. The water served as a sensory anchor, pulling Marco's consciousness entirely into the immediate present. Intense focus on a physical reality effectively mutes external distractions, proving that the mind can only process so much at once. This relies on the principle of cognitive bandwidth. The brain has a finite amount of space for conscious thought, which is typically occupied by the past and the future. When Marco balanced the water, the demands of the now expanded to require his full bandwidth. Because the present moment occupied all available space, the brain had no room to generate fear about the future or sadness about the past. Marco's experience shows that physical isolation in the mountains was never the requirement for a quiet mind. Calm becomes accessible in any busy environment the moment the mind is anchored entirely in the current moment.